Alright. Alright. Ew. Look at my bed, which I haven't made. Ew. There we go. What's going on, guys? What's good, Adam? What's up, 1610? How we living? How we living? I'm not putting this beanie on. It is like... Actually, how hot is it today? It's like 77 degrees. Dude, the way my apartment is set up, because I just came in from outside, I have to go outside to get to a vending machine so I can get to my drugs. It's hot. It's hot. But beanie is right here. Gotcha. Always keep that thing on me. Always keep that thing on me. But how we living, guys? What's going on? What's going on? What did you read this week? What's up, Tevia? Let me share this bad boy out. Let people know that I'm doing stuff. Oh, there we go. I can type. Typing isn't hard until it is. Tim Burton's Fantastic Four. Which Tim Burton are we talking about? Are we talking about like Mars Attacks Tim Burton, or are we talking about like Batman Returns, like moving forward Tim Burton? Because I can see Tim Burton like in the 90s making a Fantastic Four movie. That would be kind of alright, depending on who you got to write the script. I mean, even then, it wouldn't matter. I think Sam Hamm wrote a really bitchin' script for Batman. Like, if you read the Sam Hamm... Wait, do I have it up here? No, I have the Blade Runner script. But I feel like if you read, like, the Sam Hamm second draft Batman script, it's very clearly a second draft, but oh my god. Oh my god. Imagine if we got that movie in 1988 or 89. Imagine if we got that. I mean, you can keep the aesthetic of like what Tim Burton did, but like that movie, oh my god. Oh my god. Oh, the template for superhero films moving forward, instead of building off of like a weird, just like edgy, silly Batman 66, but like emo, like pop goth Batman 66. Instead of building off of that, we could have had like The Dark Knight in 1989, like a whole 20 ass years before we got the actual Dark Knight. I feel like the bar for superhero films would have been like way higher if we got that movie instead of what we got. But yeah, you know, whatever. I think Tim Burton would have had an interesting aesthetic for Fantastic Four. How about that Ultimate Invasion? Bro, I don't have my Ultimate Invasion number 2 out here. I thought I had it over here. I just reorganized my comics. Is it in here? No. Oh well. Don't have it out here, but Ultimate Invasion is fantastic so far. I mean, I'm saying that with a lot of good faith, because I believe in the brand of Jonathan Hickman, even though I've been let down by Jonathan Hickman in the past. Although it's not really Hickman's fault, it's more so just I buy into something because Hickman's behind it, and then Marvel just sweeps Hickman right out from under me, and I fall booty hole first on a Marvel editorial bad dragon, and then I'm in pain. Happened with X-Men. I'm prepared for it to happen with this new Ultimate Universe rebranding effort that they're doing, but I'm still trying to maintain optimism. Did I say maintain? Maintain. Then optimism. Trying to be optimistic. Also, it's kind of cool. I like the art. It's comfy seeing Brian Hitch do Ultimate Universe stuff again. Feels right. It's like going to a house party, a barn party in Kansas, and everyone's drinking Bud Light. Bud Light's disgusting, but it fits the aesthetic and it works. Not to compare Brian Hitch to Bud Light. I think Brian Hitch is it's a more high quality artist than Bud Light is a quality beer. Haven't read it yet. Just curious your opinion. Yeah, I think it's cool. Just nervous about the future. That's my big thing. Ultimate Invasion. Look, it's a new universe that isn't the Ultimate Universe. Yeah, there's that too. It doesn't have the same number configuration as the original Ultimate Universe. Instead of it being 1610, it's like 6160. So it is a new universe. They did kill the old Ultimate Universe, and it is a new thing. 1610 Man's probably gonna have to change his name to 6160 Man. Tim Burton from Edward Scissorhands. Tim Burton from Edward Scissorhands would make a really good Plastic Man movie. I could see that. Or Tim Burton from Edward Scissorhands would make a really good Metamorpho movie. Yeah, give Tim Burton the weird fringe characters that nobody really wants to do anything with. That is what you do with with Tim Burton and DC characters. Don't give him Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. Don't do that. don't do that. How do you feel about Spider-Man Reign getting a sequel? Because for me, I am not looking forward to this sequel because the OG was so bad. You put bad in a question mark, so I said like bad. I am. Okay, so here's the thing with Spider-Man Reign. This is a book that is out of print. I know that I could just read it online somewhere, but I have a whole thing where I don't like reading on. I don't like reading on these things. It makes my. I already have to look at a screen for 8 hours a day at my job. I don't want to just look at a screen for pleasure. Well, you know what I mean. But I don't want to read comics on a screen. This is my big thing. I prefer these thingies. I prefer floppies. I like when it's flapping in my hand. Wow, I'm 2 for 2 today. But yeah, no, like I like reading physical comics, and because Spider-Man Reign is out of print, I cannot get my hands on a copy of Spider-Man Reign. And I know a lot of the comics tube, the comics sphere, everyone in geek culture likes to say that Spider-Man Reign is terrible, and I'm not discrediting everyone's read of it. You know, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like Sal from Comic Pop is wrong because he didn't like a comic, or that like Linkara is wrong because he didn't like a comic. I'm not gonna sit here and say that like the internet is wrong because they don't like things. But I have noticed over these past couple of years Um, there were a lot of comics that I just avoided or read as a kid with like a negative tinge or negative bias. Um, After rereading them myself in like my adult years, I actually like quite a bit. I really like the Ultimates. I really like a lot of the Ultimate Universe material that comes out after shit, what's that book called? Ultimatum. I really like a lot of 90s comics. I think a lot of like Marvel and DC 90s comics are actually really fucking good. I think a lot of Mark Miller books that everyone just kind of trashes on are actually great and wonderful and high quality and really just, I don't know. There are a lot of really good comics that just the internet over the past decade and a half via YouTube and social media have just completely shat on. I read it and I'm like, oh, this is good. So I don't know if Spider-Man Reign's actually bad or not, or if the internet's just being the internet saying this thing is bad, and then when I read it, it's actually pretty good. I don't know. So as far as Spider-Man Reign getting a sequel, well, I know the internet's probably gonna go into it thinking this is gonna be bad, but I don't know if I'm gonna hate it. I don't know. Because I don't know if I like Spider-Man Reign or not. But I don't know. I just say all that to say that people on the internet will tell you things are bad because they didn't like them. But sometimes you read them and you do like them. And sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes the internet will swear up and down that something's great, and then you read it and you're like, what the what? People like this? Like me with Kingdom Come. I don't like Kingdom Come. What's that Family Guy bit where everyone's drowning in the elevator? Someone posted on Twitter. They were like, "What is your I don't like The Godfather moment?" For me, it's I don't like Kingdom Come. I don't like Kingdom Come. I think the best version of that story is Earth X by Jim Kruger. And the late great John Paul Leon. Really great comic. I really love Jim Kruger as a writer too. He's fantastic. He's one of those dudes that just shows up and does a comic like once every 5 years. No, this dude will show up, write the best comic that you've read in like years, and then he'll just leave for like a decade, and then he'll come back and do it again, and then he'll just leave again. I don't know. Jim Kruger's just one of those guys. Earth X is great. I just picked up Justice. It was like the deluxe edition because that's the only version that's available. I'm reading through it. The beginning is visceral. Like everyone in the Justice League dies trying to save the world, and Superman just he's crying in space as he's watching the planet Earth explode, and then you find out that it's a dream that the supervillains are having collectively. I'm so fascinated to see where that goes. But yeah, no, I love Jim Kruger. I don't know how I got on the topic of talking about Jim Kruger, but I like Jim Kruger. Sam Hamm sounds like a DC character. Dude, he has the most DC Comics name ever. I think he also wrote Batman Shaman? I think. Who wrote Batman Shaman? Shaman is a Batman story written by Dennis O'Neil. Okay. Let me see Sam Hamm. So I know this dude's written like a lot of DC Comics material. He wrote the Batman '89 what do you call that? I guess it's a continuation comic. Even though like the Schumacher films are a continuation of that universe, I guess it's like a branching timeline type thing. But he did a he did a he's done a couple stuff. He wrote Batman 2, which never, or I guess Batman Returns. Which also, in my opinion, just got shot on by Tim Burton. He wrote a draft for the Watchmen movie. Oh, I wonder if that was the script that Alan Moore read and said, no, LOL, nope, we ain't doing this. He wrote a draft for Fantastic Four. Whoa, interesting. And Planet of the Apes. I feel like everyone's written a script for Planet of the Apes at some point. Interesting. He's only credited for the Batman '89 graphic novel series. Although he did do Batman Blind Justice. Interesting. That's a book I've never read. Oh, it's just like 2 issues. Okay. I could have sworn I've seen his name on other things. But maybe I'm tripping. Alright, I guess I'm tripping. He's only done those few things. Spider-Man Reign equals Spider-Man's Dark Knight Returns. Okay. Alright. Huh. I'll give it a shot. I like Dark Knight Returns. Oh, dude, it's fun. I'm actually kind of in the middle of a Reddit battle with everyone in r/Superman. That subreddit just absolutely hates the fuck out of Dark Knight Returns. It's kind of funny to just like poke the bear a little bit. I know it's really stupid. I know it's futile, but like it's funny to kind of just watch them rage. I swear to God, Superman fans, and I know because I am a Superman fan, but I swear to God, Superman fans are like the most insecure and insufferable fan base for like a mainstream character. Like Superman fans, like they have this perpetual victim complex, or like this penis envy, where they're always like, it's like, dude, literally everyone, like Superman is like the template for like modern mythology. Stop acting like you're Green Arrow fans. Does Green Arrow have a book right now? No. You know who has like 4 books right now? Superman. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Stop. Jesus. Could not last being a Flash fan. The average Superman fan just has no idea. Tevi says, question, this is for everybody. How do you guys feel about Mary Jane becoming Jackpot? Is that what they're doing with Spider-Man right now? Damn. Well, I look forward to ignoring it like everything else Spider-Man related in comics. Good God. Just what are they doing over there? Like, I'm like kind of curious, but I also don't want to know. Like, I don't want to know. That's how bad Spider-Man comics have gotten. Like, Spider-Man's my favorite superhero, but I don't want to know. Uh, I also wonder if like people don't think I'm actually streaming because I'm using like a weird. I'm using the Catwoman looking Batman's face to commemorate our 69th episode. Um, should I change it or should I just leave it? I'm like super tempted to just leave it. Um, Yo, what is up, John Ty? How you living? How we living? Welcome to the stream. Oh, what's good, Supreme? How you doing? How you doing? All right, I guess we got some new people in the chat. Hey, what comics you check out this week? What'd you like? What piqued your interest? It was a very light week for comics. As far as I'm concerned, not a lot came out this week. I just kind of prioritized some of the heavier bulk buys. I picked up this bad boy, the Treasury Edition for Trad Moore and Heather Moore's Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise. This was like one of my favorite Doctor Strange books to come out the past couple of years. This was like breathtaking. I usually don't get these big ass things because I don't. Where do you put this? How do you store this? Like what's wrong with me? Why did I buy this? Treadmore, that's why. But yeah, this was really cool, and it's not that expensive. It's like $30. Yeah, it's like $29.99. I don't know. Thought it was cool. But yeah, this. Oh, dude, look at this. This is why I bought it. Yeah, this is why. But yep. This is the big thing I got this week. I also picked up Superman Annual #1. Superman's so good right now. Oh my god. I don't even know how to like describe the good vibes I'm getting from that book. I'm not sure if any of you guys watch this podcast called Geeky Gentlemen, but they're a channel that I really like, and I can't remember what episode it was, but they talked recently about how Superman comics for the past like decade or so have just been in this weird place where you can't just sit down and read a Superman comic. You have to have all this like, you just have to have like you need a continuity directory to understand what's happening in that comic right now. And I mean, I don't quite agree. You know, I think you can generally just jump into a lot of Superman comics and go like, all right, well, that was cool. Some of the main stuff, maybe like Superman Rebirth. That whole thing, needlessly complicated. But after Superman Reborn, you can kind of just jump into that book. You don't really need super context outside of Superman have a son now, and Superman and Lois, they older and have a child, and they are doing the thing just as parents. Outside of that, you don't really need a lot of context. And then Bendis came along and did the Bendis thing. But even for that run, what little I've read of it, you don't really need a lot of context for it. You can just jump into it and it's like, oh, it's Superman. But you know, I'm liking the current Superman run a lot. I think it's really fun. It feels like classic, or I guess to me classic, like early 2000s City of Tomorrow era Superman. It's not taking itself too seriously. It's just fun. There's some hardcore stuff in there, but you know, it's just a fun, light comic. And I think it's what the Superman brand and comic kind of needs right now. I think Philip Kennedy Johnson and Daniel Sampieri are doing a really good job holding down the fort with like hardcore, in quotation marks, sci-fi Superman. I think they're doing a really good job of like taking Superman back to his like pulp sci-fi roots. Um, but yeah, I think the Joshua Williamson run is a good counterbalance to that. You know, it's light. You know, it's an ice cream sandwich, and that I think that's all it really needs to be. Um, I got all that just from talking about how I don't read Spider-Man anymore. Nice. 1610 Man says superhero movie template. What the world thinks when they hear the Two Worlds comic book. Welcome to the superhero genre tropes. Wait, what? Did I read that right? Superhero movie templates equal what the world thinks when they hear the two words comic books. Welcome to the superhero genre tropes. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I agree, and I don't like it. There's something that Kevin Feige said that I thought was very telling, and I immediately kind of was able to understand why a lot of the MCU just does not click with me. He said that before every movie they make, they watch Superman the movie. And I like Superman the movie. I appreciate it. No amount of people who don't read Superman comics but like to act like they're authority on Superman because they watch those two. Nothing can make me not like those movies. I'll just say it like that. But I don't like the fact that they are used as the overall template for how to tell a comic book adaptation. For me, I'm thinking if you're gonna make a movie about Black Widow, Superman the movie is not what you look at as a frame of reference for how to tell a Black Widow story. I'm thinking you should look at something like Atomic Blonde, you know. I'm thinking you should look at something like Mission Impossible. You should look at something like Salt. You know, Superman the movie is not what I think you should look at when making a Black Widow movie. I don't think you should look at Superman the movie if you're going to make a Spider-Man film. And that's very clearly what Sam Raimi was doing. It's kind of evident when you look at the MCU Spider-Man films. The Andrew Garfield movies, I think, are going in the right direction, where you're seeing more influences from like indie drama, like teen drama, like romance, and like tragedy movie. I don't know. There's something. I think the Amazing Spider-Man is going in like a better direction, or the direction that I would go in. I feel like if you're gonna make a Spider-Man movie, you don't look at Superman the movie as like your template for, well, this is how you tell a Spider-Man story. Like, no, you should look at, there's something wrong with no, not something wrong with Kevin. We have to talk about Kevin. Is it we have to talk about Kevin, or is there something wrong with Kevin? It's the one with Anakin Skywalker. What is it? Hold on a second. Hayden Christensen, Emo Bussy. No, don't type that. Don't put that in your Google history. Life as a House. I'm not talking about Life as a House. With yes, there's something wrong with Kevin. We need to talk about Kevin. But I feel like you look at something like that. I feel like you look at something like It's kind of a funny story. I feel like you look at part of me wants to say Donnie Darko, but I don't know. Yeah, I'll say Donnie Darko. Like, these are things you look at when you're making a Spider-Man movie. You look at where these characters are born from genre-wise, and you lean into that. And I think that's like the big disconnect that I have with the MCU. I want these characters, I want the Marvel Universe to feel like it's a collection of like different genre films. One of the unspoken truths about the Marvel Universe, one of the things I think is really charming about the Marvel Universe throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, and even the 90s, is that you can tell what movie was really popular at the time. You can tell what creators are using as their narrative and thematic muse. Like if you go back and you read a bunch of the David Michelinie and Bob Layton Iron Man comics, they are riffing off of James Bond hard. Those movies are like straight up like later year Sean Connery Bond films, but like on crack. Like it's insane. And then they just kind of turn into like Roger Moore James Bond movies, which they themselves are just Sean Connery Bond movies on crack. So I don't know. I that's my whole thing with the MCU. I think looking at Superman the movie as a template for like, well, this is what the superhero movie should be. I feel like that's a mistake. Like I think Superman the movie is a really, not just really good. I think it's a wonderful, biblical, epic, adapting pre-crisis Superman. But it should not be. It shouldn't be the skeleton that everyone uses, because all these characters they're different, they're varied, and I just think it's a noble idea. The heart's in the right place. I think I don't think it's a good place. I think it's a misguided place. I'll say that. So he says, I also really hate the Paul character. Oh, is that like more Amazing Spider-Man? Oh, Paul from, yeah. Dude, just stop reading Spider-Man. Like, literally, just stop reading it. Stop giving it attention. The only reason Zeb Wells and the editors are doing what they're doing on Spider-Man now is because you're still giving it attention. Like, just in general, I feel like if you don't like something, just don't pay it any mind. You know? Marvel, in a lot of ways, is still running off of that Joe Quesada mindset of bad press is still press. So just stop. Stop giving it press. Stop giving it attention. Stop buying the book if you're buying the book. You know, I know there's a lot of people out there who are hate buying things. This is the reason why we keep getting trash we don't like, because you keep hate buying something to rage bitch about it on the internet. Just stop buying it. Stop talking about it. And then Marvel will switch up their editorial staff. They'll switch up the creative team. And then we'll have better stuff. Maybe. We'll have different stuff. And hopefully that different stuff is better. But just, I don't know. General rule, if you don't like it, just don't pay it any mind. That also goes on to say, question, wasn't the old Ultimate Universe brought back thanks to Bendis? It was! Actually, the Ultimate Universe has been brought back like 3 or 4 times. Bendis brings it back at the end of Spider-Man 2. And then Donny Cates also brings it back at, I think, like, after Absolute Carnage and his Venom run, which I'm still collecting. I'm still trying to catch up on that. So I don't know exactly when the Maker gets put back into the Ultimate Universe, but he is put back in the Ultimate Universe, and like everything's on fire, and all the heroes are missing for some reason. But apparently that plot line got dropped by the time Jonathan Hickman showed up and did Ultimate Invasion, because he brings the Ultimate Universe back again. So the Ultimate Universe has been brought back 3 different times. I guess 4 different times. Also, if you count the Al Ewing Ultimates book, which I didn't read because I'm a bad Marvel fan. I don't care about the cosmic landscape unless it's being written by Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning. But yeah, no, I guess that's 4 because the Ultimates show up in that as well. So the Ultimate Universe has just been brought back 4 times, which I guess upholds the Ultimate Universe tradition of editors just not talking to each other. So at least that's consistent. But yeah, well, again, we'll see where it goes. I'm interested to see where it goes. Prefer physical copies too. Yeah, same here, bro. Same here. Although there is a negative trade-off. Like you get to a point where you just you look at us like a big ass pile of paper in your room, and you're like, God, how did it get this bad? Hence why I was asking Comics Explained about potential giveaways. Which, by the way, shout out to Rob. I'm still reeling from the fact that dude showed up in my my chat last week. That was great. That was awesome. That was a crazy off the wall cameo, but I'm glad he was there. That was really cool. Literally wouldn't be the Marvel fan that I am today without Rob. So, you know, I've been subbed to him since he was Marvel Explained back. Like, well, that's like what, 10, 15 years ago now. I know Rob is like one of the OG YouTubers. He's been doing this for a long time. Seekington says, Marvel said the original Ultimate Universe still exists. It's left behind because they want to focus on a new universe. Well, that's cool. That way they don't get to ruin the old Ultimate Universe more than it's already been ruined. They can fuck up this new one, and I'm happy with that. I feel like that's the thing that works with the Ultimate Universe and why the Ultimate Universe worked in the first place. Wow, I feel like I have a burp in there. It's just not coming out. But the thing I like about the Ultimate Universe and why I think it works is because Marvel just kind of threw all their chips in and said, fuck it. I mean, Marvel's not really in a place to financially be that desperate anymore because they're all owned by Disney. But as far as this line is concerned, I'm interested to see if that fuck it mentality is still there. So I don't know. I looked up Spider-Man Reign myself, and Jesus, it was a train wreck. Damn. Well, I'll give it a shot. Let me see if it's on Amazon. No. Nigga, you want 65? No. Nope. Okay, I don't need it that badly. I'm sure Marvel will reprint it. I'm sure. Especially with this new I guess sequel event coming out. It'll just get reprinted. I ain't paying $60 for that book. Got me fucked up. Shame the main Amazing Spider-Man is garbage fire. It's gonna be like that, bro. Supreme Omega says, "Hey, Mr. Wolverine Mini, hope you're doing well. I am doing very well. Confession: the older I get, the more I relate to Alan Moore." Amen to that, brother. I've become more of a cynical curmudgeon when it comes to the industry and superheroes. I'm less of a Morrison fan. I can hear that. I can understand where that mentality comes from. Um, I think it's very easy to get caught up in a lot of the minutia and the corporate bullshit that just comes along with the art of comics and the artistry of the medium. But I guess I just haven't hit that point yet. I mean, I still, I'm like in the industry now, I guess. You know, I am a comic book writer. I guess I can say, like, officially now. I'm working with artists on comics. So I'm now seeing the business side of things. I also see why people use Kickstarter a lot, because holy shit, this gets pricey. Especially if you want to pay your artists, which is a crazy thing for me. If I'm just gonna go on a little side tangent here, whenever I see people talk about working in the industry, I always hear artists complain about how they're not being paid on time, and how letterers aren't being paid on time, or how colorists and inkers aren't being paid on time. Let's fucking pay your people, dog. Like, what? I mean, yeah, I get life happens, and I get that things are expensive, but like, that's where you make a budget, make a little plan. You can. I just think it's shitty to like hire someone and not pay them. That's why. I don't know. But I don't know. I say that to say the comics, the comics making process is very. It's very expensive. But yeah, I know. There's just a lot of there's a lot of stuff that goes into like the industry side of comics. Especially when we talk about like Marvel and DC, and like even Image, I would consider to be one of the corporate branches of comics. There's a lot of minutia there. There's a lot of insider baseball. There's a lot of like, just a lot of boys club bullshit. But it hasn't broken comics for me yet. You know, I still read Marvel and DC comics. I understand that there's just gonna be a lot of corporate fuckery going around. I understand that editors are gonna editor sometimes. Sometimes those editors are gonna editor very poorly. But it hasn't broken me. But I do get. I completely sympathize with you and other people who kind of are curmudgeonly about it and feel kind of like heartbroken over it. I get it. It's sad, but it happens. It happens to the best of us. Literally, like, happens to Alan Moore, so it happens to the best of us. It also happened to Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison's getting kind of curmudgeonly as they get up in age over Marvel and DC bullshit. So it's just gonna be like that. It just be like that. Earth X trilogy. I know it is a trilogy. I have only read the beginning of the first Earth X book, and I've been told that it reads pretty well on its own. I will get the trilogy at some point, if I feel the need to go past the first volume. No! I scrolled, and I scrolled too hard. I scrolled too hard, and I met the Lord. He faded on my bed. I'm running through my head, and I'm trying to scroll back up all the chats I missed ahead. Fuck, where was I? Jesus Christ. There we go. 1610 Man says, Spider-Man Reign feels like the end of a trilogy. The first book is the origin story. The second book, the retirement story. Okay. I assume Rain would be like the I guess getting back on the saddle story. Um, I don't really follow Reddit. Reddit is what it is. I use it because you find a lot of really good artists on there, and sometimes I farm opinions for content for my videos. But yeah, Reddit needs to cope with opinions. That's for sure. Reddit is a place where I think everyone thinks they're right. So it's a lot like Twitter, but like less teenagers on there. Or maybe it's the same amount of teenagers. I don't know. I will say I can at least tolerate being on Reddit at times. Twitter, I'm just like, all right, bro, all right. We're just actively being ignorant right now. Like you're being like dogmatically. I can't use the R word. I'm not gonna use the R word. That's mean. It's ignorant. It's intolerant. I won't use it. But you're being dogmatically ignorant. That's it. Like it. I don't know. Twitter is not a place of ideas. It is like the human intellectual like dump. I thought Spider-Man fans are bad. I mean, we are, but Superman fans are just insufferable. John Ty, I have to agree. I don't like Superman fans. Yeah. So I'm not alone. All right, that's cool. I get to not be alone on this. That's nice. That's a first. Not exactly. Superman has 2 books right now. Well, okay. There's Action Comics. There's Superman. There's Superman Last Days of Lex Luthor. It's a miniseries. I'm also counting the World's Finest book as a Superman book right now. And there's also the John Kent book, which counts as a Superman book. That's 5. Can I count? Wait. Superman Comics. John Kent. Last Days of Lex Luthor. Yeah. So that's the Superman has 5 books right now. That's a lot. You know who doesn't have 5 books? Green Arrow. You know who also doesn't have 5 books? The Flash. My boy's got 1. He's doing a damn good job with it. You know who also doesn't have 5 books? Blue Beetle. My boy's got 1 coming out in September. So as of right now, that means 0. I don't know. Superman fans just perpetually like. Yeah, how about you shut the fuck up? They didn't get Superman right in one of the 800 adaptations that he's had. Meanwhile, I'm stuck with the CW Flash and Ezra Miller. If I can take it, you can take all the crap you're getting. Shut up. Enjoy at least one of them. Jesus. Spider-Man comics right now. John Byrne and Howard Mackie saw a reboot in the late 90s. History repeats itself. Oh, you're right. That did happen. Is that chapter 1? I'm not sure if you guys follow Previous World. I mean, they stopped doing their weekly show, but go check them out though. They have a lot of really good, like a lot of their older content's really good. But I remember when one of the hosts, Troy, who's a really good friend of mine, used to work at my local comic shop. I think I was in like middle school or something, but there was it was the last copy of Spider-Man Chapter 1, and I was like, oh, I want to check this out. This looks like a precursor to the Ultimate Universe, so I like the Ultimate Universe. I like Ultimate Spider-Man, so I'll just check this out. Also, John Byrne did it. I like John Byrne. You know, I'm 14. I don't know that John Byrne's kind of John Byrne yet. He's great. Yeah. I like his Man of Steel. You know, I haven't read Generations yet. So I bring chapter 1 up to the counter, and Troy immediately he looks at it, puts it under the counter, and says, "No, don't do that, don't do that." And he goes to the shelf and he picks up Spider-Man, Untold Tales. That's like a Kurt Busiek book. I'm trying to think, do I have it over here? I don't think I have it over here. I think it's in one of my long boxes. But dude said, just read this instead. Don't read this crap, and don't read like I think Marvel at the time was also reprinting some of the John Byrne stuff where they kill off MJ in a plane crash or a plane explosion. But then it's like, oh, that's what that burp was. All I had to do was talk about MJ being in a plane explosion. But I mean, like, later they retconned that MJ wasn't on the plane. She was actually being held in an underground bunker by this perma stalker. It was 90s Spider-Man is just weird. So I don't have the whole thing where I think the 90s is the worst decade for Spider-Man ever, but it's definitely a mixed bag of highs and lows. And the highs are really high, and the lows are like subterranean. You dig so deep you find yourself chilling with Mephisto. That's how low the lows are for 90s Spider-Man. Tibia says, well, at least the good news is Across the Spider-Verse is coming out in Blu-ray. So that's cool. Yeah, I'm glad people get to see that on their screens. If you didn't get a chance to see it on the big screen, that's a movie that I don't really like, but I admire the fuck out of it because I think it is a tour de force of animation, and not just animation, but just mixed media in general. It does a really good job of taking different animation styles, as well as mixing them with live action and like different renders of CGI modeling and different styles of 3D modeling effects. It does a really good job of just taking a lot of different shit and putting it together in one film. So I appreciate it for that. I don't like the whole Spider Society bullshit. I don't like the weird Spider cult stuff, which I've had a lot of people tell me that, well, no, in the third movie you're gonna find out that Miguel's wrong, which I'm not gonna like any outcome here. If Miguel is wrong, then you make all these other Spider-Men who I really like look like complete jackasses who joined a cult and told a 15-year-old boy that he has to watch his father die. It's a rite of passage. And if they find out that he's wrong, well, then you tore all these other Spider-Men down to build up Miles. I don't like that. But if it turns out that he's right, well then, what the fuck? Jesus. That's horrifying. Oh, we got a call from Greg. Hey, Greg. What's going on?
Hello, first time caller, first time listener. I have a question, MSGB.
Alright, shoot. You're on Shock Talk. This is Leslie. Talk, slave.
Okay. So I was perusing the internet, and I came across something from the director of Blue Beetle. He was talking about Latinos in comic books, and he was talking about Bane and how he thought Bane was supposed to represent like American interventionism in Latin America. And then Graham Nolan, one of the co-creators of Bane, said, "Oh, that's bullshit," and that he had been essentially misinterpreted what Bane, like how Bane was originally written. So my question to you is Graham Nolan wrong, or is he maybe, I don't know, out of touch with what he himself wrote? Or are the wokes just simply trying to jam politics into comic books once again?
I think if Graham Nolan's POC, then he's right, but if he's a white man, then he's wrong. That's the law of the internet.
Yuck, yuck, yuck. That's right. Oh my goodness, it seems about right. Even though, if I'm gonna be honest, I also kind of thought that Bane was a bit of an allegory on, imperialism and colonialism. I mean, his father is white, and I mean, the whole him having to serve the sentence of a dad, that does seem like borderline, like a colonialist, like punishment. Isn't that like a French thing?
It is, but like I don't know. So I'm reading through all that Nightfall stuff like right now.
Right.
Like I when I read it before, I just read all the important stuff. I didn't read the entire thing because there's just a lot. There's a lot of stuff in there where it's like I don't care about reading about Black Mask or like a throwaway Scarecrow story or
Hey.
do you guys want to see Harold the Hunchback like well he doesn't talk
Hey.
but you want to see Harold the Hunchback build the new Bat?
Hey.
I don't care. I don't care.
Hey.
What's Bane doing?
Some of the original death representation.
No, I'm not, it's not bad. No, he's I think he's mute.
Deaf, mute. He also has some sort of like learning disability. I mean, he's clearly like a mechanical genius, but it's also supposed to be like it was supposed to be like some of the first autism representation or early autism representation because he's clearly a genius with like mechanical engineering, but he also seems to be kind of like dumb in other ways. So
They were trying. They were doing stuff.
they were. To be fair, they were trying.
But as far as the way I'm reading it right now, I don't get what they're talking about. Like I can if I squint my eyes and like look from the side, I can see where they're coming from. But
Right.
it really just kind of feels circumstantial to the character of Bane himself, in the same way that Batman being a wealthy billionaire is circumstantial to the story of Batman. Like I don't know. It's
True,
like
but they clearly ripped off that whole Count of Monte Cristo thing. Sure, there's part of that. There's part of the whole what's that one French play with the singing?
I mean Les Miserables.
Les Miserables. So they clearly ripped off those type of stuff. But it also feels like it's like I mean I don't know. Am I the only one who kind of thought that Bane was like not even just like Che Guevara, but like he kind of came off like Simon Bolivar. Like he came off like Fidel or like who's the one from Haiti? You know the guy.
Haiti.
The guy who led the Haitian Revolution.
I can see his face clear as day. I don't know. Name's escaping me, but I know you're talking about.
So it just there were always times where like not to go super political with it, but there were times when yeah, I mean I think they even one time in one comic they even point out the fact that Project Gilgamesh, the one that's supposed to like they say the Bane Project or the precursor to Bane Project was like initiated by like the U.S. military, and it was like well that does kind of feel like they're making
Toussaint Louverture.
Okay, yeah. And so, like, there are times when it feels like, well, yeah, I mean, me personally, I did always kind of think that Bane was somewhat an allegory to those men, and, like, that's not his main thing, but that is kind of part of, like, his whole shtick, and I was kind of, assumed that Graham Nolan and, like, Chuck Dixon did kind of use that. I mean, they took the French stuff, obviously, they took a little bit of the other stuff, and now this guy goes like, well, like, Nolan is saying like yes to some of the prison stuff and how like like Bane was exploited by his childhood, but he's saying no to the like U.S. interventionism stuff, and it's like, well, I want to believe you, but at the same time, like you did clearly take from some of these other guys.
Well, even if he did, I think much like Batman, Bane, if not being above it, sees himself as being above um, political and like nationalistic ties. I think Bane sees himself as an institution in the same way that Bruce Wayne sees himself as an institution.
Yeah,
Um,
I do get that. I get what you're saying with that. The allegory isn't the most important thing. Like I know some people might go like, oh yeah, you can like that. It's like the whole thing, but it's like no, it's not the whole thing. But at the same time, it definitely is there, drips and drabs at least. You can't say that you like Graham Nolan can't like if he's saying that Bane isn't supposed to be based off of like Fidel Castro, that's bullshit because we know Santa Prisca was supposed to be like an allegory for Cuba.
yeah.
We know that like for a fact. I forget what, but like Chuck Dixon even once said one time that like he referenced Santa Prisca as like being an allegory to the current like South American troubles, and it was like specifically in reference to I think like a Cuba thing. I'm like almost sure of it. So
Well,
it's like,
I
well,
can totally see that. It's just I don't. I mean, I just don't. It's one of those leading questions, or like leading answers that kind of there's a read that I'm not gonna dismiss the Blue Beetle directors for having, but it's one
I
of the things
can
where it's like, ah, well,
understand.
the creator didn't see it that way. You clearly saw it that way, but that's also like I guess the whole point of art. Like
Yeah,
like you can make you can draw a duck, and then someone will say, well, this is clearly a
right.
commentary on uh the crisis in Ukraine, uh, and how the Azov battalion is actually a Nazi regime. It's actually Putin that is a good guy. That's clearly what this person who drew a duck was trying to say. And it's like, no, I just want to draw a duck, bro.
Right. No, I completely get that. I don't think the allegory is the most important thing. I really don't. I love Bane, so that's not like the most important thing. I get that. I truly do. And I also understand the whole concept of art being, it, it's subjective. It's just, it was one of those things where when I read the article, I sort of was like, well, I understand what Graham Nolan is saying. He is co-creator, but, you know, it, there is that thing where it's like I don't know if Graham Nolan is lying or if he like is misremembering the way he helped create Bane, but I definitely remember Chuck Dixon once saying Santa Prisca is basically supposed to be like an allegory for like I'll have to look it up, but I do remember that, and I was like no. He clearly was referencing a country that had a history of U.S. interventionism.
But
So,
that's like every country
right. So you
post
can,
World War
but
II. So
true, but doesn't that add more credence to the Blue Beetle director's whole argument? I mean, in a lot of ways, Bane is kind of an amalgamation of like a bunch of different freedom fighters.
I mean, it can, but also if we're gonna get into the weeds of like superheroes as an American institution, um, and I'd actually say there's a really excellent point that I think was made by Supreme Omega here, talking about Alan Moore referencing how superheroes are actually like demoralizing thematically, saying that superheroes can't really solve real world issues like poverty and bigotry. They always have to preserve the status quo. I would go a step further and say that from the post World War II propaganda machine. Superheroes become agents of the establishment, just inherently.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not arguing that.
so you're wrestling with that uh, within the context of like modern conventions of what superheroes are. Um, but you're also wrestling with and what's his name? Zizek. I can't think of his first name right now, but he's a Slavic philosopher. Um,
Bozo Zizek?
which
Bozo the Clown Zizek?
uh, fuck, I can't. I don't know, but he makes a lot of videos about like movies and stuff like that. He like specifically talks about the Matrix a lot, but Zizek talks about how, or he made a joke, much rather, during the Trump presidency, where there's this big hullabaloo about Donald Trump potentially stealing the 2016 election, um, and he was like, "Oh wait, so when if Russian hackers uh, intervened in an American election, it's an affront to democracy. But when America does it, they're just spreading freedom, which America tends to do a lot everywhere.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're the good guys when we do it. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, no, you're not wrong. What's the old expression? One man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist. Like,
yeah.
we tend to be the bad guys in everyone else's story.
Yep.
Like, there is the interpretation, and I remember someone once making the argument that like you can, if you look at Bane from like the point of view of like a dude who lives in Santa Prisca, like as like tyrannical as the people who were before it, yeah, you understand why they probably would root for a guy like Bane, especially toward the like Bane's better than what like came before them.
Absolutely. But that's why I think it's interesting. Like I mean, if you're going to make that point that Bane represents um, the reaction to American or like just in general uh, Western like colonial Western intervention, um, well then having Bane be the product of Western imperialism, um, I think only strengthens his character, and you can do a lot of interesting things with that. Um, whether or not you want to make like a moralistic judgment call on that, um, I mean that's up to you, and that's up to the story that you can tell. But I don't know. I think, look, man, I think characters are the product of the world around them. Uh, Batman, if you really want to, you can make him a character who is like he is the product of the the U.S. government directly dealing with mobsters, and how there are a lot of states in America that are just permafucked because of corruption. And Gotham City is like a representation of that. So you have this billionaire vigilante running around his city enforcing like a shogunate law as a like a reaction to um like long term corporate political corruption. Um, if you want to take Superman back to his pulp roots, you can have Superman be like a frustrated like a frustrated journalist who is trying to fight for truth and justice in in an unjust world that only um, uh, rewards uh, lies. Um, and you kind of like do something interesting with that. But I don't know. That's
What
what.
about Wonder Woman?
Hmm?
Like written by Frank Miller? She's a prostitute and she gets her powers from like lap dances and money. Like
Oh
how
yeah, you have Superman going a whole diatribe about how the city's a whore and he only likes her when she cries. Get real Sin
Greg
City with it.
Elegance, right? Wonder Woman. Ah, I'd love that. I'd love a miniseries of that.
But yeah, no, like I don't know. I think like characters are the result of like writers and artists taking the muses from the world around them.
Mm.
So like if I don't know, man, if that's how the Blue Beetle directors see Bane, all right, that is a take that is not invalid. Um, so go for it. If that's how you see Blue Beetle, then go for it, man. Or not Blue Beetle. If that's how you see Bane, then go for it. But I don't know. There's a whole thing where I think there's a tinge of like high horse riding. Um, that just I don't know. It feels that's really what people who kind of play the get your politics out of my comics drum are really getting at. It's not that politics and comics are bad. It's that people moralize like pretty egregiously their
Yeah.
their like political perspective, and they like preach at you with these characters. I think that's the big problem there.
I get that. I mean, truly, I mean, I'm to argue my point just like as one thing. I, I, I always, I mean, again, it's not the biggest thing, and I'm not trying to shove my politics down anyone's throat. I always just figured the whole Bane being an allegory for like American interventionism thing. I always figured that because different quotes and different things I picked up in comics. It was my own interpretation, and it wasn't an interpretation that I necessarily need everyone else to believe in. But I always did kind of think that my interpretation was valid, not because it was like morally right, but because it just felt so innate in the writings and whatnot. But again, I could have just misinterpreted things, or I could have just, I don't know, you see things from your own subjective point of view. Um, I mean, again, I always just felt that the points were there, like the whole concept about like Peñadora seeming to be like an allegory for Guantanamo Bay. And, I always just kind of figured that like, well, yeah, I mean, there was some evidence, but it also doesn't like, my point of view is not like the most highest morally accurate point of view.
Yeah.
It's the way I saw things, and it wasn't the way I saw things. So like, I'd be like, oh, like I'm not shoving it down anyone's throat or like being like this is what it is. It's just it's how I seem to have thought of things.
Yeah, I feel that. Actually, speaking of like uh, characters in politics, John Ty here says I've been reading the Nick Spencer, Sam Wilson, Captain America run, and so far he really likes it. Did you check that out at all?
I did read it. Yeah, I read parts of it, and then I read the end of it, leading into Secret Empire, which I enjoy Secret Empire more than most.
Dude, same here.
Yeah, I enjoy the artwork. I enjoy a bunch of different stuff. I think that people got so upset about the whole Hail Hydra thing that they didn't really give the book a chance. Like, but again, it became a whole moralized sort of point of view. It's like, oh, well, Trump is the Secret Empire, and it's like, okay, I get it, and I also understand where you're coming from because Secret Empire, they are doing the remake of the original one, and it's like like Nixon, but Nixon being the original one where Nixon or the Secret Empire head is supposed to be like a white nationalist neo-Nazi, which I mean, I get what they were doing, and I understand Nick Spencer's remaking like everything, which I appreciated. Like as one of the few people who like the remake and the like all of it, I do appreciate that. But I do think there was at times like borderline some like political grandstanding, which I do understand why that put off certain readers. I can understand that.
Well, I didn't really see a lot of. Well, I'll say this. And I'll say it like this. I think Nick Spencer's runs on both Captain America books as well as Secret Empire are really great books that came out simultaneously at the right time and the wrong time.
Very much so. They were very...
Yeah, I think they're very topical, and he's hitting a drum that, well, he's hitting a very sobering drum that I just don't think people wanted to hear at the time, because we were hip deep in like the hyper reactionary catharsis of you're an alt-right bigot or you're a libtard neo-fascist. Like people were just kind of, they didn't really want to sit down and think, they just wanted to react. And I think Nick Spencer's run on Captain America really suffered as a result of him taking a step back and just kind of having a sober analysis of what was happening in the country at the time. Like I love Secret Empire.
I really do. The artwork, the writing, I really genuinely enjoyed the comic. The only problem is, like, people got so like pissy about it that it almost made me like it made me enjoy the atmosphere around the whole thing just so much less, because it was like, oh god, you people are like way too fucking like serious about this shit.
I mean, there's also like really dumb stuff that Marvel wanted comic stores to do. Cause I was still working at the comic shop at the time. Marvel wanted us to put up like Hydra banners and greet people with the Hail Hydra salute, and it's like, all right, that is, look, I'm down for it. I'm down to do it.
No, it can be off-putting with a guy like who comes in with like his 2 kids, and it's like a Saturday morning, and like it's his first time in the store, and you hit him with the Hail Hydra, and it's like vaguely Nazi-esque, and it's like, no, I don't like this at
Bro,
all.
I would have done it.
So I get it. I get it.
If my boss at the time didn't tell me not to do it, I would have done it. I would have shaved. I would have given myself a Hitler stash. I would have found a Nazi uniform and just put the Hydra logos all over it. I would have gone for it. I would have gone for it.
It can be. That's the problem. Part of the problem, and I think like other people have pointed this out, like because Hydra has always sort of been in between like Nazi-esque and fascist.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one of those things where it's hard to like. I don't know. It's like when you think of Hydra, comic book fans think about like, well, yeah, Nazis and like, their correlation. So you might go directly to that thing, but like because they've also been coded as fascists, I don't know. You go for you make like even a slight bit of like well, no, they're like white nationalist Nazis. So it's like that becomes a whole different conversation.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know. You do get to a whole point where it feels like, okay, we can't be afraid of commentary.
Right.
Like it does get to a point where it's like, okay, I like these characters, and I had a whole thing about this, because I'm kind of like I'm actively trolling the Superman subreddit right now, because Superman fans are just so easy to trigger, but. Dude, these characters are tools to express ideas. They are not your, like, emotional support puppets. They're not your little, like, the security blankets. These characters are tools to communicate, like, real world concepts and ideas and allegory, like via allegory. So they're naturally gonna go to some uncomfortable places to talk about real world issues. That is that is the genesis of like the American superhero. Like like we can't be afraid to and then this goes back to to Supreme Omega's point, um, like you and this is where I disagree with Alan Moore, where he says that you can't have superheroes solve real world issues. I think you can. There just has to be like real world consequences for whatever solutions the hero comes up with, as there would be repercussions in the real world. Like, and comics used to do this all the time. I think people really forget the. Sorry, that was a weak burp. I could have done way better, but I feel like people forget the '70s with DC in particular. There's a whole era where Bruce Wayne is just dedicated to controlling crime in Gotham City. This is when Dick Grayson's in college and hanging out with the Teen Titans. Bruce moves out of Wayne Manor. He moves into the penthouse at the Wayne Foundation, and he has this whole thing where he's gonna control crime in Gotham. Like he's gonna, like he has a whole thing where he's gonna he was gonna live in the heart of the city, so he's gonna know what's going on, and then he's going to beat up criminals. He's going to put them in jail. When they get out of jail, he's gonna like have these social programs and hiring opportunities for like offenders, and he's going to also use those former offenders as like his ears to the ground for what's going on in the city. Like I don't know, man. Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams figured this out 50 years ago. I don't know why people think you can't do it now.
No, I get you, but I was going to say people use like these characters that they love almost like as teddy bears to like comfort themselves, instead of seeing these characters as being what they're supposed to be, characters. Who go through like the very stories in which we learn the lessons, or we get to see them fall and rise, like literally the whole point of stories. But no, for them it's just like the comfort of the story instead of the actual story.
Yeah, and you can disagree with where a character goes, the direction that a writer wanted to take a character in. Like, I quite infamously do not like Kingdom Come, but I'm not going to sit here and say that Mark Waid hates superheroes or he hates like Superman or whatever because I didn't agree with the take. Like that's puerile. That's silly. I don't know. I think that's where you run into the whole like man child and like woman child argument of like adults kind of being like infantilized through.
Yeah, femboys.
Ooh, welcome to Femboy Comics.
You think it's a woman, and then she takes her pants off, and then you're surprised, disappointed that you're still horny for love, and it becomes a thing.
Baby.
You spend like $50 on drinks all night, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I already have the condom on.
Well, that's when you channel your inner Jodorowsky and just you accept the perfect androgyny, and you become the Meta Baron.
Yeah, that damn femboy. You stole my art and my wallet. Damn it.
Christopher Nolan's Green Arrow.
What were we talking about? I'm sorry, I lost it. It was like,
you got lost in the femboy sauce, but it's okay. We're getting back on track. 1610 minutes is Christopher Nolan's Green Arrow. You just like to throw out like weird ideas like that. That would be pretty interesting. I mean, that's basically just the CW show, but
right, essentially, like literally, I always like to tell people, like, when it comes to like comics, like when you have a comic book storyline that comes from like a TV show or movie, it does distort the comic in a way that, like, you know how Batman, in a lot of ways, it feels like Batman's been written from like the whole Christopher Nolan perspective for like a couple different runs. But you also look at Green Arrow, and it's like Green Arrow goes from what he was to what Denny O'Neil and guys like that changed him into and sort of evolved him into, to what he is now, which is like, well, sort of like a killer and like a hunter, which it's not a bad thing, but it does feel like it grew from the whole realism moment.
Is that Denny O'Neil?
No. Yeah, Denny O'Neil. He changed up how he was written.
I thought that was Mike Grell who made him like a killer.
No. I'm talking about I'm talking about the first change where he went from just being like a guy to being like sort of a liberal, sort of like.
Oh yeah.
Going around, where he takes that trip across America.
Yeah.
During the 70s.
Because he lost his fortune and he's like living like a crappy part of Chicago.
Right. He goes from what he was during the 50s and 60s to what Denny O'Neil changed him into during the 70s to like literally during the late 2000s, the whole transformation from what he was, that thing, even the way Kevin James writes him, which, credit to Kevin,
Kevin Smith?
Kevin Smith. Like, the way Kevin Smith writes him.
LeBron James.
Like, Kevin, he does this whole homage to the Denny O'Neil run, which I actually enjoy how Kevin Smith writes Green Arrow. I really do.
Yeah, me too. He has a really good voice for Ollie.
He does. He really does. And it's like, but then he goes from what, like, Denny O'Neil, guys like that, and, like, Kevin Smith do to, like, during the late 2000s, early 2010s, where he becomes this, like, Batman, but, like, with a bow and arrow and straight up killing people, not even going for, like, soft spots, going for just, like, the kill shot.
Well, to be fair, a lot of characters were doing that because there was that loop around to superheroes starting off as, like, pulp, like derivatives of, like, pulp heroes, to becoming, like, these agents of, the American establishment throughout the 50s and 60s. So then you get like the late 80s and 90s. They kind of loop back to being like pulp hero derivatives, and pulp heroes have no qualms with killing their villains.
Of course not. Otherwise, they keep coming back. Not trying to fight the same guy week after week. That'd be insane.
But yeah, it's kind of funny. I haven't read that material just because it's not really that high on my radar. But from what I understand, the only reason Ollie takes that like stark leftist turn is because he's poor. Like beforehand, Ollie doesn't really care about politics, but then once he becomes poor, he's like, I care about being on the left because I hate the I am the proletariat now, and I hate the bourgeois. And it's like, Ollie, you are the bourgeois. What are you talking about, bro?
I mean, all it takes, like, it's funny. I used to say this, like, when it comes to money, it sort of happens in reverse. Well, it's the same in a way. Like, you take a black man, give him no money, you probably have a Democrat. Give him a little bit of money, you got a card-carrying Republican. So now he's got some shit he needs to protect, and he will fucking protect it. Me, I don't even have a lot of money right now. I would consider myself a liberal. You give me even like a couple of dollars, man, you come on my property, I'll shoot you in the head.
All right, everybody, let's chip in. Let's make my friend Greg a millionaire. He's gonna be the most Logan Roy millionaire.
Give me a couple dollars, and I'm a card-carrying fucking Republican. Got something to protect, something I need to have. Keep away from the dirty pores. That's all it takes, man. Like, I'll throw my morals the fuck away, man. Won't see me again. I'll just be chilling on those weird fucking sex trafficking islands. Just me and all my rich friends. Me, George Lucas, like, whoever else. I'm just gonna be chilling out there. You give me a little bit of money, I'll throw away all my morals. I don't care.
Do you see George Lucas as being on one of those Epstein Island? I mean...
No, I just threw out the first name. I genuinely just threw... Like, I like George Lucas. I just want people to know in the chat or whatever. I like George Lucas. I literally just threw out the first billionaire I could think of.
I mean, part of me wants to say I don't see him doing that, but then again, like, I've hit the disillusion arc where everyone's corruptible. So
anyone could be a sex trafficker. I get what you
at this point, I don't know what to believe.
Perverts.
They're all evil at this point.
You would assume so, yeah. But again, that's just the poor in me. Like, once you give me a little bit of money, it's like, we're not so bad. We deserve to have more money than literally all the other people. We deserve it.
Supreme Omega says on Miss Marvel, a lot of her stands complain about how she's being a lot of her stands complain about how she's being done dirty. They have nothing to complain about. All right, bet you're going hard with this one. At least Kamala wasn't edited by Dan DiDio. Whew. At least she didn't have War Games or an evil Cassandra Cain arc. That
I mean,
she supported she supported Carol Danvers during the Civil War II regime. I mean, she eventually like defected, but like she still supported Carol.
No. We've had this conversation. I've told you that, like, besides Nick Fury and Maria Hill, I feel like Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers happens to be one of the most, like, low-key fascist characters because she supports every single, like, fascist in all of these arguments. She supported Tony in the first Civil War. She becomes Tony in the second Civil War. She's the one who essentially is always on the side of, like law and order, but, like, extreme law and order. And like, for those who don't know me, I've said for years, and this isn't because I like hate Carol Danvers or anything. I actually used to really like her until I noticed she was always on the side of the fascists. Always. Her and Maria Hill are both like real fucking fascist types. It's really weird.
Well, she's also in a post-patriot America. Carol Danvers is staunchly security over freedom.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, it is very much.
But it also comes from a very selfish place, which Brian Reed picked up on, and Bendis sort of tagged on with Carol's arc in House of M. But Carol's primary flaw, which none of the modern writers like to pick up on or play with, I don't know why. I think it makes her interesting, but Carol's kryptonite is she desperately wants people to like her, and she will do whatever she thinks is required to get that cult-like approval. And that's why I like that. That's where I think Carol's a fascinating character, or at least Carol was originally a fascinating character. Now she's just Diet Wonder Woman.
No, but you know what's the weird thing? I actually super agree with that. It's how she's written it. It's pointed out by Steve at the end of Civil War 2. I was gonna say her main issue is that she, I don't, what do you call it's like that, the disease of I told you so. She loves to crucify those she believes. I don't know, she seems to almost enjoy the crucifixion of those in power.
Just like a woman.
No, but she said something to Tony Stark during the Avengers run, like early in Bendis' run. It's after Ultron essentially bursts himself in Tony Stark's DNA. He uses Tony
that's
Stark's,
sexy.
like, it's weird, but like she points out the fact. She goes like, Tony, you're not a god, and one day, like when they figure out that, they're gonna judge you and crucify you. And the way it's written made me think to myself, she does seem to have like that I told you so mentality, and it's like I think about that a lot. Like, and it gets pointed out in like every now and then in the comics. And I always remember thinking to myself, she does kind of have like she almost comes off like Pontius Pilate. She has sort of that she seems to like the crucifixion of others in a way that I always kind of felt like, she's a type. She has like that like Nazi mentality where it's like, you can see
she's Polly from The Sopranos.
Yeah, she's got a way with her, and like I always remember thinking I like her, but I also understand why she's a very dangerous character.
Yeah.
And why she easily become like a villain in like the Marvel universe, which she is on a lot of times. She picks the like Law and Order side every single time. It's like, yeah, you can see it coming.
Yeah. John Ty says between the two Superman books, he likes Action Comics more. Are you reading any of the Superman books right now?
You know what's weird? I think I told you this. I'm rereading a bunch of Superman stuff because I've just been so starved for Superman content lately. And he was like one of my first comic book loves when I was a kid. So I just been reading a bunch of like Superman stuff. Like I'm rereading Max Landis's American Alien. I'm doing a couple of them at the same time.
Oh, that's what she said.
Book. Yeah, good one. And so I'm just rereading a bunch of like Superman stuff. I think I'm gonna read Superman Exile next or something because I just like
Oh shit! Bored. Do you have that?
Superman Exile?
Yeah, I mean, that was like a super limited print run. I should have got that when I had the chance.
Oh, I don't have it. I was gonna go look for it.
Yeah, I'm sure maybe like one of the libraries around here has it, but dude, a lot of 90s and like 80s Superman stuff just isn't well collected. It's a real shame.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say it, but it even to me it doesn't matter because I've just been so starved for Superman content. I even started watching My Adventures with Superman. I watched like a couple episodes of that. It's not bad. I enjoy it enough.
Yeah, it is a children's show.
It very much is.
Ironically, though, it's giving me what I've wanted from I'll say like a 13 plus style like Superman anime, in that this show is Superman versus the military industrial complex. I think that's really interesting.
It is, yeah, no, it is. Even though they did sort of like they're redoing things that have been done in other Superman content, but it's also like no, we've seen that before, and I also understand like when Lois jumps off the building and it's like, Superman, you're gonna catch me, and Superman has to reveal himself, but it's like, we saw this like during Superman 2. Instead of him like jumping, he just runs down super fast and he blows the what's the awning to catch her. Then it's like come on, did you have to reveal yourself in that specific way? We've already done that. And
True.
The other Superman did it in a better way. Like, I get why they did that, but I also felt like that was
I hear that complaint. I guess I don't mind personally because the show is a reinvention of the character, but B, the like Superman 2, like specifically using your example, Superman 2 is an adaptation of pre-crisis Superman, where this is very much pulling from the post John Byrne Clark Kent is who I am, Superman is what I do mentality for the character and his characterization. So when Lois jumps off the building, Clark isn't, Superman isn't thinking, well, this dumb bitch is doing the thing, so I got to embarrass her by saving her life, and we're gonna do it like an O. Henry kind of thing to get out of this. Like, Clark just reacts on instinct. Like it's very kind of like the post John Byrne like Spider-Manification of Superman. Which a lot of people, I guess, we kind of just don't bring up in conversation of who and what Superman is as a character. Like from 1939 up to 1986, that is a like, that's the Starman, like the David Bowie Starman like type Superman. That is the stranger in a strange land. That is like the ultimate alien immigrant. He is the benevolent spaceman god, who like walks among the mortals. Jack Kirby in a very grandpa, you can't say that anymore kind of way. compared Superman to being uh, a safari hunter among African savages.
Kirby said that.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
In an
sweet old man.
interview about his run on Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. I mean, I get what he's saying. It's just, ooh, Grandpa, you can't say that anymore.
Oh, sweet old man.
But
Yeah, you shouldn't say that.
that version of Superman goes away after Crisis. Because from John Byrne onward, Superman kind of becomes like an X-Men character, and that's just what we've been. That's just what we've had since the '80s. So Superman does like become a fundamentally different character from 1986 onward. So it's always just kind of funny when people kind of do the whole. Like I saw this when people were really up in arms over like Zack Snyder's take on Superman. They're like, well, Christopher Reeve did it better, and Richard Donner got it, and it's like, well, the Donner films are adapting a completely different era of a character who was written completely differently from how he's been approached over the past, like, I guess at the time, like 20 odd years.
No, I get that. Like, different adaptations pull from different source material. I've always said that, like, if you want, like, different cartoons, to, like, Spider-Man cartoons from different perspectives, like, the Spider-Man, the animated series feels almost like, it feels very distinctly like Jerry Conway's Spider-Man. Distinctly like Jerry Conway's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Whereas Spectacular Spider-Man feels more akin to Steve Ditko's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Different adaptations pull from different different eras, and like people, like I feel like people should understand that. It's like, well, an adaptation comes from a different time period. It comes from like a different, completely different way of thinking at times.
John Ty says, wasn't Superman 2 the one where Clark kissed Lois to make her forget his identity? Yep. You could do that in the 70s. It's fine.
Superman 1 is where he turns back time, I believe.
Yeah, which he can still kind of do. Like Superman can still kind of
you,
technically do that.
If you rotate the Earth, that turns back time.
Okay. I'll stick up for this. That is, he's not physically rotating the Earth. It's just an artistic representation of going back in time and then going back to the present. That's all it is.
Fine, but he also can kiss people to make them forget things, which, one, rapey.
Yeah, it's the pudding. It's the pudding pop.
The most rapey power on Earth.
It's the pudding pop. It's the power of the pudding pop.
It is just so rapey. Like, as a kid, you go like, oh, that's so cool and romantic. But as like a teenager and then as an adult, it's like, man, how many times...
The Krypton and the kisses and the Lois and the pudding pop and the...
I'm Superman. Like, wait, really? And he kisses her? Haha, you forgot. Hey, Lois, I want to show you a trick. Kisses her, makes her forget whatever he does to her. It's a very rapey superpower.
Well, you know, it's just these modern kids today. The stupid hang-ups. They don't know how it was back in the good old days.
Which, like, I get it. It's directly pulling from, like, those 1940 movies where characters, like, where a woman would be yelling at the male protagonist. He would just kiss her really hard, and she would just, like, stop hugging him. She'd become so flustered she would forget literally what she was saying. I get that. It's a nice little homage to those old movies.
Yeah,
but
dumb
it's
bitch.
It also is like if any Kryptonian can do that, you have to assume some Kryptonians are committing sex crimes.
Well, welcome to the Viltrumite Empire.
Yeah, fair point.
Toby says, question, how do you feel about Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel becoming a mutant? I called it, and it's stupid. They're just doing it to link her up with the MCU.
Enough, he did. He actually called it in the shop, like you called that months and months ago when she died. It was like, she's just going to be resurrected as a mutant, which, don't get me wrong, some people did see coming, Yeah, because I knew they weren't going to let her stay dead. Me personally, I didn't know how she was going to come back, but it was like, no, because she's in the MCU, so they're not going to let her stay dead. But you did call it. You did call that she was going to be resurrected. So people were upset about it, but it was also like, oh, they're fridging her. It's so sexist. But it's also one of those things where it's like everyone, any comic book fan knew she was going to be resurrected within like weeks or months, and she was.
I don't even feel like a satisfaction in being right about that. It's just fucking stupid.
It was stupid. It was the dumbest fucking thing ever. She died, not even in her own comic, but she died in a Spider-Man comic.
And not even the Spider-Man that she's like friends with. She died in the Peter Parker book.
Legitimately, another thing people were pissed off about. It was like, why is she dying in Peter's story? She's not friends with Peter. She's friends with Miles. What the fuck? It was like, yeah, that doesn't make sense either.
It just like what are we doing, guys? Oh fuck! I'm gonna destroy my room. No, I'm not. There we go. I cracked it.
It didn't make sense.
It's fine. Yeah, it's just dumb. But that's one of the reasons I'm just not paying attention to Modern Spider-Man.
That and Paul, stupid, sexy Paul, has to have sex with Mary Jane. It's just making.
Oh yeah.
It's making Spider-Man just feel like such a cock.
Thick Niggas Incorporated.
Huh?
Thick Niggas Incorporated.
It's like, oh god, he's clapping Mary Jane's cheeks.
I'm seeing a lot of people talk about how like Paul and MJ look like they're gonna be on the outs. And like this whole thing is like a long game to get Peter and MJ back together. But
it's weird. It's taking forever, and it's weird, and people don't like it.
I mean, I'm not like reading it right now, but like it, from the outside looking in, at least, it just feels like a poorly executed version of what J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. already did 20 years ago with like their run on Amazing Spider-Man.
Shout out to John Romita Jr.
Yeah, and he's I'm in the minority. I still like his art. Well, when he does.
Me too. Like, I don't care who doesn't like his art. I fuck with his art. I fucked with his art ever since like rereading those like 80s comics when I was a little kid. I don't care who you are. I like his stuff.
I think his art lives or dies on the colorist, though.
Huh?
I think his art lives or dies based on the colorist.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Like it's not like like Brian Hitch has this, but to a lesser degree. I just like I like when I see Brian Hitch's artwork, I generally am not really into it, but that's just because I don't think he's paired with a lot of colorists that can accurately color him and like get his photorealistic style down. I think John Romita Jr. is just sometimes butchered by like different colorists. Like whoever colored his work at DC did not know what they were doing. I think the worst example was the Bendis run on Superman, which I didn't read, but from what I saw on like Instagram and Twitter and Reddit, good God, I know this man can draw. So what am I looking? What am I looking at?
And you know what's funny? They started off the run strong, in my opinion. Started off with like some gang stuff. Tombstone, it's like, okay, I can kind of get into this. And then, like a couple issues later, they bring back Hobgoblin, which fucking A. Like, I love that. I fucking love Hobgoblin more than, like, just one of my favorite villains. But then it starts to become so, like, fucking terrible. After that, it's like, god damn it.
Well, there's a whole thing with, like, I mean, I have a whole thing in general with Hobgoblin, and just all the other goblins. I think we can. Spider-Man has this like real big problem where I don't think anyone wants to do anything new and interesting with him. I think that character, for the most part, has been stuck in a cycle of like since Brand New Day. playing greatest hits.
Yeah, I didn't.
But I mean, I love the Hobgoblin, but like it's over. You know, like it's Kingsley. Hobgoblin Lives came out in like
1994.
ooh, so it's like older than both of us. Like let it go. It's over. It's like Ferris Bueller at the post credits. You're like, what are you doing? Get out of here. It's done.
No, I mean, truth be told, the whole thing about like, oh well, who could it be? Like, I understand why they kind of want to do that over and over again, and it's like one of those things where it's like, let's prolong this because it's like, I get that. I kind of understand what you're trying to do, but like, as someone who grew up during or rereading 90s stuff, where like it was like you read Macandale, but like even Macandale is only good as Hobgoblin like for like a little bit of time before he becomes his own sort of like joke. No one takes him seriously. Literally, he has to become like a part demon, then whatever. So he's like you look back at like Macandale's like legacy, it's like legacy or failure.
Did you just say his legacy?
Legacy.
No, no, chat. I'm pretty sure Greg said legacy, but it's okay. Continue, you horny freak.
Macandale's
deviant
legacy is sort of a legacy of failure. At least with like someone like Phil Urich, he becomes sort of like he's like Urich is also kind of a loser, but he has like there are times when he actually could be kind of a fun villain. At least fun, not scary, but fun at least.
I mean, I had a whole thing with Phil Urich though. Like and this just kind of goes to the whole I don't think Dan Slott knows how to write Spider-Man thing. I understood what Dan Slott was trying to go for with Phil Urich, where Phil is like he's the nega Peter Parker. Like he's the opposite. He's the yin to Peter's yang. He's the dark side of the Force. But he just wrote Phil as like Phil and Peter. There's no real difference between Phil and Peter. The way Dan Slott actually wrote them. So it's just like, wait, so this, I don't know. I don't. There's a lot of concept and execution there that I don't think works.
It felt like he was trying to merge the ideas of Kingsley and also Ned Leeds, trying to give people what they wanted or what like was wanted during the 90s, but it was like it's a little too late for that. Plus, I mean, Europe was fine, but he just wasn't groundbreaking, and I don't think he was meant to be, honestly.
It also I remember this has been like over a decade now, but I remember feeling like it kind of crapped on the legacy of the Hobgoblin a little bit. Like I feel like it was leveling Roderick Kingsley to make Phil Urich look cool, and I didn't appreciate that at the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I haven't read this material in like over a decade, so I don't know. I was really stuck on the outrage machine back then. So who knows what actually was happening versus like what I was just projecting onto the material, but I remember not liking it at the time. On top of also just thinking most of these guys are dead. Let's move on. They're dead or just permanently in jail. Let Spider-Man move on.
Yeah, like, I mean, not to spoil it, but like when Phil kills Kingsley, you even know that it wasn't actually Kingsley. And I remember, like, it's one of those first things where it's like, oh yeah, Kingsley's dead, and like Phil's sort of laughing about it. I was like, but I know that's not Kingsley because it's never Kingsley. It's never Kingsley, which is sort of a bad start. Like, it was supposed to show him being a badass, but if you know anything about Kingsley, you know he never dies, so it's like, you know that's not actually Kingsley. And then we later find out, well, it wasn't. It was Daniel Kingsley, not Roderick Kingsley, his twin brother. So it's like,
Yeah, so I don't know. I will give that material another shot, but I was not a big fan of the Dan Slott material. Um, Supreme Omega says on the upcoming Gotham War event, not excited. In my view, I'm tired of the constant trope where Batman has to be torn down and the Bat family has to be divided. I feel like it's overdone at this point. Absolutely. I will see how it pans out because I'm really liking Chip Zdarsky's run on Batman, personally.
And I really like Chips. But that's neither here nor there. Continue.
Oh, thank you. I'm a big fan of Chips. I love me some Chips. But, yeah, no, I'll see how it plans out. I just really don't want to see another Batman event, personally.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's just so many Joker Wars, like Fear.
Yeah, it's too much.
Back to back. City of Bane, which I like City of Bane, but it's like it's too many.
Yeah. Hashtag me too. John Ty says the Kelly Thompson Black Widow run was an underrated run. Interesting. I saw
Which
nothing.
Run was that?
Huh?
Which run was that? Was
Kelly
that
Thompson.
Like 2000. No. I mean, like, which one was that? Was that the one from 2014 or 2018?
Oh, probably 2018. I know it's definitely in that like post Mark Waid era, because this was when like your boy Zach and like Ethan McIver and like Yellow Flash and Young Rippa and all those guys got they built their careers ripping on like that. A pussy meat wrote this comic, then it's bad. It's SJW. So yeah. It has to be in that like 2016 to 2019 era when it came out. And I mean I don't like Kelly Thompson personally, but like if you say the Black Widow run was pretty good, I'll check it out.
I remember reading there was a run. I think it was the 2014 run. I don't think it was Kelly Thompson that wrote it though. I remember reading a Black Widow run a couple of years back that I really enjoyed, but I'm pretty sure it was the Kelly Thompson run.
Was it the Mark Waid run?
It might have been. No, I don't think it was the Mark Waid one because I would have remembered if it had been Mark Waid.
Okay.
So I'll have to look it up real quick. But yeah, I don't think it was the Mark Waid run.
I'll check it out nonetheless. You know, I'm Lord knows I'm just buying trades and reading them and having no space to put them after I finish reading them. But yeah, I'll give it a shot. 1610 Man says superhero movie trilogy template. First movie's the origin story. Second movie's the retirement story. And the third movie, the evil doppelganger story. Beginning, middle, and end. Well, that's the Joseph Campbell. That's the Campbellian tell. You know, it works. I mean, I think you can do other things with these characters, but it works. Debbie says a question: how do you feel about Across the Spider-Verse proving Marvel wrong and having Peter Parker and MJ be married? I think it works. I think it more than works. I think it's fantastic. And just kind of goes to show that a lot of the editors at Marvel just are painfully out of touch with what the Spider-Man fanbase wants. Supreme Omega says another trope.
Take that, Joe Quesada, you divorced bastard.
Oh, damn. Damn, Daddy. Why do you hate Joe Quesada? Why did? Okay, one more day aside, why does everyone hate Joe Quesada? Like,
because of one more day.
Okay, but like outside of that, he's still the best editor that Marvel's had in the past like 35 years.
I'm not arguing that. It's just people were left so disenchanted by one more day. Plus, also, I would like to point out he is the one who Like, so, you know how Marvel started that whole oh, that big
Wait, I can't
event.
hear you.
You know how Marvel started that whole like they were doing like big events on the regular.
Yeah.
Casada is the one. Casada is the one who made the big events annual, and it became so fucking tiresome. But he was literally the one who, if I'm not mistaken, installed the whole policy of a big event every year.
Well, he
And it was
did, but I think it degenerated. Like what we see now is not an event every year. We see an event every 3 months. I think that's the
right.
problem. But
Right.
but like up until Siege, it works. I feel like if Siege was the last of those big annual events, no one would have a problem.
Well,
I think no one would have had a problem if like because everything from okay, there is Avengers Disassembled, which I guess is technically the first event. Um, fuck, what's after that? Because Civil War's 2 years after that.
right.
Or 3 years after
Civil
that.
War, Civil War, Secret Invasion,
Okay.
Dark Reign.
Yeah, there's Dark Reign. Um, and then is it Siege?
Schism, Schism, uh, Dark Reign, Siege, Fear Itself, Original Sin.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Fear itself. Original Sins
Which
after.
I've told you this before. I personally think Fear Itself should have been the third Thor movie, but that's a conversation for a different time. Actually, I love Fear Itself.
Hmm. I
I
don't know
think
if that would have worked.
personally, that's just me. I like Fear Itself.
I think Fear itself would have made a really good Avengers movie. That way, you
It
get all the
really could have.
Avengers wearing
It
like
really,
Thor armor.
dude, it really could have. It would have made, like, I legitimately think if they hadn't done Infinity War, you could have done, like, Siege, Fear Itself, and it'd be like, oh shit, you got a bunch of Thor type, strong level Thors, but they also have to introduce a bunch of other villains, like Grey Gargoyle, Sin,
Yeah.
Juggernaut, Atuma, Absorbent,
Fear itself is one of
Strong.
Fear itself is one of those like, very rare events where I feel like the tie-ins are actually better than the main story though.
Man, I really like Fear Itself. I really thought, like, hey man, if you're doing Thor Ragnarok, you guys should be done Fear Itself. I think I've been tweeting that 2 months or something, like back during like 2016 or something. I remember just being like, you guys really should think about doing Fear Itself. Fear Itself is really fun. I think it could make you guys billions of dollars.
Yeah. 1610 Man says big events have been in comics since the mid '80s. That's true. But they're like the annual events that Greg's talking about. Like that's when it started to feel insufferable. And House of M. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, it's disassembled, then House of M, then Civil War, then it's Secret Invasion. Um, then it's Dark Reign, and then it's Fear itself.
No, Siege. That's Fear Itself.
Really?
Yeah. You don't remember Siege from before Fear Itself?
Oh, is Fear itself the heroic age?
Yeah, well, it's part of it, yeah.
Okay.
Near the very end of the age.
I forgot Secret War and Silent War. I don't really count those as events though. Those are like miniseries that like lead up to his run on the Avengers. Um. Oh, and Kelly Thompson's Black Widow came out in 2020.
Oh, that's what it was.
Let me go back up real quick. Um, Supreme Omega says another trope I dislike is I hate when B tier and C tier characters have to be killed off in big events. It feels so cheap and lazy. It's my biggest complaint on those 2000s crossovers. I blame Crisis for that. Crisis established that if you kill off B and C list characters, then your event is like important, because I think that's when you like Crisis is when Barry Allen dies in like issue 7, and then Supergirl dies in like issue 7, and Barry Allen dies in like issue 9 or 10. Um, so you have like two high profile deaths in that, or like not high profile, but they are B tier characters. Yeah, like two major like DC universe like fixtures die in an event. Um, that that sort of set the stage for what everyone else did moving forward. I heard Ichabod Crane. What? I'm gonna hunt you down like a rabid dog. We're gonna eat your eyeballs. Wait, hold on. Speaking to your mic.
Yeah, I'm just saying to get back on track. Those are the two reasons why people like sort of dislike Casada. One More Day and the whole like a lot of his decisions that he made. But personally, me, I think it's the whole making the annual event thing, because it led up to like biannual event and then an event every couple of months, and it's just like there are too many events. There are just too many events.
I feel that. I still feel like we wouldn't have gotten JLA Avengers if it wasn't for Joe Quesada. We wouldn't have gotten like the explosion of Marvel talent that we got throughout the early 2000s if it wasn't for Quesada. There would be no Punisher Max without Joe Quesada. There would be no you wouldn't have Grant Morrison's run of the X-Men without Joe Quesada, even though Quesada would later like sabotage X-Men really hard after they had like a falling out. But
he had his highs and lows. I'm not gonna argue that. Like I can definitely see there were the highs and then there were the lows, and now he just like Jim Shooter, he's becoming himself like sort of a pariah.
Yeah, but that's just inherent to having that job.
It's not. It's hard to be the one in charge.
Yeah. And sometimes you gotta make good calls, sometimes you gotta make really shitty calls. It kind of just be like that.
Like, isn't Shooter the one who sabotaged Monica Rambeau?
I want to say yes, but I also don't feel confident in saying yes.
It was either Shooter or Mark Greenwald.
But yeah, it just kind of be like that, man. I don't know.
Because it's like, oh, the fans don't love Monica, so I think we gotta give the fans what they want and reinstall Captain America. And it's like, well, that pisses off the guy who's writing the series. Well, you know what? Sometimes you gotta make the hard choices.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you gotta make the hard choices.
Christopher Nolan's Wonder Woman. I can't see it. How do you feel? Oh, okay, this is a good one for you. How do you feel about the new Punisher comics being about a new character, not Frank?
I've heard about this. Has that actually started? I know they announced it, but
so apparently it's gonna be like an excommunicated SHIELD agent.
Okay.
And he's a Fed who hates the Feds, I guess.
So he hates the federal government.
I don't know. It looks like some Unabomber type shit. I mean, it could be interesting. I don't care. I have a hard time caring about Punisher without Frank Castle.
I mean, a federal agent who starts killing like federal agents and like like people who like represent the worst parts of the federal government, I can kind of understand that. Except unless it like inspires someone to like shoot a bunch of like census takers and like postal workers, which is always like a concern. Like violence towards census takers have actually increased in the last couple of years, so we wouldn't want that.
To be fair, they got it coming. Like they are very pushy nowadays.
Yeah, but at the same time, you don't want people like going.
Get off my lawn!
Like,
my foreskin is my business.
I mean, it does work because like that's always kind of a concern. Like it's like, oh yeah, that's like this new Punisher is going around killing politicians. Yeah, let's kill some politicians. It's like, well, I don't know if that's going to change anything. But then again, it might.
I mean, you also are going to get people just being really fucking stupid and like threatening politicians in open forums and then being arrested and tried for treason. Actually, I think that happened with a state representative. I think he like said he wanted to like hire a death squad to kill like a member of Congress, and then like of course you got you got your booty clapped by the FBI. You can't threaten a sitting politician, you jackass. Even if you are a sitting politician yourself, like you can't do that. That is treason. So people are just gonna be dumb regardless. Can't fix that. Supreme Omega says, Beanie, if you think Superman stands have a victim complex, they got nothing on those obsessive X-Men stands. They will never let go of their grudge against the Avengers, Wanda, and the Inhumans. Yeah, but anyway, yeah. X-Men fans are just kind of weird in that I feel like they project a lot onto not just the X-Men, but like everything, to the point where it's like, okay, so you just formed this whole little thing in your head, and it just is what it is now. I can't say you're wrong. If I do, you're gonna do mental gymnastics to prove how I'm actually the wrong one. Wait, what happened? I can't hear you again.
Like they've got a war going on in their hearts, and it's like one of those like wars that just need to impact that and keep them in it there.
Yeah. Oh shit! Hold on, my phone's about to die. Hey everybody, say bye to Greg. I gotta charge my phone.
Well, good night, man. Good night, friends.
All right, good night, sweet prince. Kiss your pussy goodnight for me.
Kiss your pussy.
Mwah. All right, say goodbye, chat. Greg is cool. I like talking to Greg. I just have to remember to keep my phone charged. But I do want to have him back on the show at some point. We should definitely talk about other comics. See, Al Ewing's Ultimate's run was confusing. I didn't read it. Supreme Omega says, fuck. I fucked up. Where are we? Where? There we go. Question on 2000s comics. I wonder if the reason you love and defend 2000s comics is because you grew up with them. Do you have nostalgic a nostalgic fondness or a bias for that era. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I I do, I do. Like intellectually, I like a lot of that material, but that could also just be a bias that I have unconsciously for that era because those are the comics that I kind of grew up on reading. Um, yeah, yes, 1610, man. I'm with you. I literally love 2000s comics because I grew up with them. Um, Tevye says, question with Ultimate Invasion uh, does finish. Do you believe Miles Morales will go back to that universe? Because for me, I want Miles Morales Spider-Man to go back home. Yep, I agree with you, Tevye. I want that Miles Morales boy to go back to where he comes from. I know what I said. But no, seriously though, I think Miles works best, and the movies illustrate this very well. Miles works best when he exists in a vacuum in his own universe where he is the one and only Spider-Man. Having Miles like run around as like, well, there's Spider-Man A and there's Spider-Man B. Well, Spider-Man B is always gonna be the lesser Spider-Man of the two Spider-Men. Um, that's just how that's gonna happen. Um, so like, I don't know, man. Uh, I think it would be best to have Miles exist in his own universe again. Um, uh, and also, since you're rebooting the Ultimate Universe, it'd be probably a good idea to reinvent Miles a little bit. Make him a little more like his movie counterpart. Probably that'd be a good idea. Um, because that's like the big thing that separates Miles from Miguel O'Hara or Mayday Parker as a member of like the Spider-Man legacy. You see a lot of people on Twitter, because obviously Twitter, but you see a lot of people on Twitter play the whole, well, you're just being racist because what's the difference between Spider-Man, it's Miguel O'Hara, and Miles, huh? Why is Miles a better Spider-Man? Why is Miguel a better Spider-Man than Miles? Huh? What are you trying to see, huh? Well, the reason why Miguel works and the reason why Mayday work so well is because they aren't just copy pasta Peter Parker but gender bent, or Peter Parker but like race swapped. They are like different characters. I talk about this in my upcoming Blue Beetle book, Blue Beetle comic review, where I'm talking about the 2006 Blue Beetle book. Um, the thing that I think makes Miguel O'Hara work and Mayday Parker work, and is the thing that I also think makes Jaime Reyes, as far as I'm concerned, the last solid legacy hero in comics, is the creators weren't afraid to take this character mantle and put them on a completely different face in a completely different genre. Or just do something completely different with the character. Miguel works because he is Peter Parker's polar opposite. If Peter is a struggling kid who grows into a struggling young man, who has a knack for science but isn't like a big corporate type. He's like a man of the people. He has a whole like stick up his ass for like responsibility and blah blah blah. Miguel is the opposite. Miguel is like an industrial saboteur, or really he's a corporate jackass who gets drugged, um, and that's why he's dependent on this uh this this uh this pharmaceutical product that his company makes because of industrial sabotage, and now he acts as Spider-Man to sabotage the company that he works for. Um, Miguel is he is the polar opposite of Peter Parker. That's what makes him an interesting extension to the legacy of Spider-Man. Mayday Parker is interesting because she is the polar opposite of her father. She's not like a shy, awkward bookworm. She's not like a resentful incel. Mayday is a jock. You know, she's a first of all, she's a teenage girl, so she's a completely different ballpark from like teenage girls and teenage boys. They both go through the bullshit of the teenage struggle, but the struggles are fundamentally different. And on top of that, Mayday's she's different from her father. Like she takes after her mother more so than anything else. She's really into sports. She's very good with people. She's also she doesn't take herself too seriously. You know, she has a group of friends. She's not an only child. She has the responsibility of being an older sister. So Mayday just kind of gets to be a different character than these characters are interesting because they're different from Peter. Miles in the comics is not enough distance from Peter inherently. You have the whole thing where this is a kid who's into science, who's from a struggling neighborhood, and power, responsibility because his uncle died. It's just too close to Peter. It's just a little too close to Peter to really make him feel like his own man. It also doesn't help that it doesn't really have like a solid rogues gallery. I mean, I know Marvel's trying, but it's kind of lame. Miles is a really crappy rogues gallery. But I feel like if you put him back in his own world, at least he has something. You can build out of there. You can build out from there. Screw corporate, fight man. I mean, yeah, no. The world's too far gone. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it burn. Let it burn. Let it shrivel up and die. Life of Pi. Life of Pi. Comics will entertain us until we die. Suck it, Alan Moore. 1610 Man says, imagine a comic book industry strike. The companies. We will have AI art and chat GPT for story. Yeah. They would do that. Tevia says, how do you feel about the New Century series? I don't care. Twitter's a mess. You have no idea. Arcus says, am I the only one who likes Spider-Man Reign? Outside of Spider Seaman. It's a really nice story. Okay. I'll check it out, not for $65, but I'll check it out. You also have Spider-Man Lost. Superman Lost. Yeah. So that's 6 books now. Michael Bay's Blue Beetle. Wasn't Michael Bay in the running to make a Blue Beetle movie for a long time? I feel like he was. I know he's in the running to make. He's supposed to direct Man of Steel at some point. Um. The Blue Beetle. It does look pretty cool. Um. I like how Graduation Day. Like the DC universe is like a weird clusterfuck of continuity where like things matter but they also don't matter. So you can kind of just read the first like 25 issues of the original Blue Beetle run and then just jump into Graduation Day and go like, well, a couple years passed. I did some superhero stuff. Anyways, I'm graduating. I like that you can just kind of jump into the Blue Beetle book like that. Supreme says, to be fair, the manga industry isn't perfect either. So many artists literally had their backs broken, and the higher-ups on those shonen and shinen magazines are just as greedy as the big two. Absolutely. Yeah, is anyone contesting that point? I don't think anyone's contesting that point. I'm not contesting that point. People also have short-term memory in that they forget that the manga industry had a massive collapse in the early 2000s. I mean, they learned from the fallout, but like that shit was rough. I think comics are headed to that very slowly, but they're headed to it. Arcus says, who's that? He's asking, what's bad about it? Starting a lot more stories and continuity. Super messed up. Michael Bay's Spider-Man, nerd who just wanted to get laid now has to save the neighborhood, bro. I mean, that's not that far off from what Ditko was doing. Like, I know you're joking, but that's like not. That's kind of Amazing Fantasy 15. Like, he asked Sally Averill out on a date, and she, like, cucks him with Flash Thompson. Like, pretty viscerally, like, and she's just very mean about it. She's very mean-spirited with it. Because Steve Ditko just writes women as, like, fucking emotional vampires. But yeah, no, you kind of described an average Steve Ditko Spider-Man story. Bane, an allegory for steroids and meatheads at the gym, bruh. I mean, I guess like the Joel Schumacher Bane is, and the Arkham games, with the exception of Arkham Origins. Yeah, that version of Bane is like a meathead. Oh my god, that was amazing. I feel like I deserve a medal for that one. That. I taste sushi that I had for like lunch earlier. Good god, that was building. Whew. Superheroes being agents of the establishment is a trope within itself. Yeah, but it's a trope because that's what superheroes were for a long time. That whole thing of like being duly deputized officers of the law. They made like a big deal of that in like Batman 66. So I don't know, just superheroes are always kind of gonna be arms of, or I guess for a long time, superheroes were just kind of arms of the American imperialist system. Supreme says, also when Kamala, one criticism I have over the Jewel Wilson run is that there should have been a more chilly reception when. How did I know you were gonna bring up Bruno? There should have been a more chilly reception when Bruno came back to Jersey City. There should have been more tension between Kamala and Bruno. I can see that. I thought there was tension already, but if you felt like it was lagging, I haven't read it. Like, I have it on my bookshelf, but I haven't read it, so I don't know. John Ty says, I think Nick Spencer's Captain America Sam Wilson series is pretty good commentary. Okay, that's cool. I loved his Steve Rogers book, which is basically just like Injustice, but if Injustice centered around Batman. No, I love Secret Empire. It's really good. Christopher Nolan's Plastic Man. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm trying to think, but I don't know how it works. I don't think it does work. MCU equals the home of B, C, D, Z list characters. Yeah, that's true. Only will collected comics equals internet pirating and comic book websites. Superman Returns 2. Oh, okay. The child support saga and memory erasing assault lawsuit. Amazing. Another pitch on Kamala. There should be a story where residents in Jersey City see Miss Marvel as a sellout who would rather hang with the Avengers, Champions, and X-Men. They believe that she abandoned her local roots. That's a really interesting take to have. Will Marvel do it? Well, if it was Marvel 20 years ago, they'd probably do it, but there ain't no way Marvel's gonna do that now. Ain't no motherfucking way that's gonna happen now. Not like Kamala Khan is like a media darling who shows up on like the backpacks of 5-year-olds everywhere around the world. Christopher Nolan's Flash. That'd be cool. I don't know how that would work, but that'd be really cool. On Omega, Super Omega says on Daredevil, thoughts on Saladin Ahmed becoming the new writer. His Black Bolt book is really good. That's it. That's all I gotta say. Sorry. Supreme Omega says because at least with Jaime, even when he did go to the Teen Titans, he was still there for Paco and Brenda, always willing to support them. Isn't Kamala really grateful for her civilian friends? Probably not, because they're all fucking dead. I mean, they're alive. I read the Miss Marvel special, but like, bro. Ooh, it's like 1 in the morning. That's why I'm slowing down. Alright, hey, guys. Thanks for showing up. But I gotta go to bed. I'm sleepy. I'll let you one more question, though. John Ty says, the 12-issue maxi series of Black Bolt is such an underrated book. That should be talked about more. Absolutely. I agree. And I guess I can leave it at that. Go check out Black Bolt. It's a really good comic. But yo, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, until next time, I will see y'all next week. Peace out. Wait, alright, I'll do that again. Peace out.